Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and we've got lots to get into this morning. Is it going to be a goodbye from Garnacho? Have we seen that goodbye from Garnacho? Amorim's given his thoughts on it. We'll talk about that and where we stand. Also, a ridiculous offer going in for Dorgu. Amorim's given the latest on this. We've got harsh facts this morning to deliver, and we will deliver some harsh facts on why this is a stupid transfer fee. I like the player, but I like Vinicius Jr. I wouldn't pay $2 billion for him. So look, ridiculous fee. We'll talk about that. That's coming in from Romano. Also, injury updates on De Ligt and Yoro. Not as bad as some people were talking about last night. And also this response to INEOS and the letter they've put out basically saying that there's tough times ahead and there will be more cuts. Just like Richard Ashcroft sang the drugs won't work, the cuts won't work. Tell me a football club in history that's cut staff, money, wages, players, increased ticket prices, and then gone on to be successful. They are sending us down a road that could send this club into the pits. It absolutely needs calling out, and not only from fans, but loads of other people talking about it, and we'll explain why Sir Jim and co want you to get on board with cuts and setbacks and believe their nonsense so that they can carry on doing it. It's a cash grab, and we'll talk about that as well. Lots to get into. Is Garnacho going to go, Mark? We'll talk about that at the moment. Paul, my club is in a disgrace. I think it is. I think it genuinely is. What can be done about it, I don't know. Look, one thing I will say, and I've always said this, is it makes me laugh how morally some United fans didn't want us to be owned by Qatar because it, you know, where Qatar's from and all that sort of stuff. But they're more than happy for us to continue to be owned by mercenary bankers who absolutely have no interest in this football club apart from bleeding its soul dry. It's mad, isn't it? We don't want Qatar because morally we don't want to be owned by that type of an ownership, but we're happy to be stayed in control from a bunch of mercenaries who are bleeding the club dry and don't even like the football club. Madness. Let's get into some transfer news to start off with, though. Let's start off with Garnacho. Is he gone? Because I've got to say, I do think that there is a little bit of BS this morning coming out from certain people talking about Garnacho's emotional goodbye, and he looked like he was waving goodbye, and you know, I watched it at the time, I watched it again this morning. You can read that any way you want to read it, but I don't read it as a goodbye. I mean, if that is, Garnacho is quite emotional. We saw it, you know, when that Pratt was outside, you know, saying stuff to him outside the ground, and then he didn't want to celebrate in the ground. He's a young, impressionable, emotional individual, as a lot of young footballers are. And having been at the football club, you know, since he was 15, 16, I think if that was a goodbye, he wouldn't just be going, thank you. He'd be crying. So I didn't detect that. I think it was an appreciation for the support the fans showed him in the ground. Lots of singing for his name throughout the game. I don't think that was him saying goodbye at all. I don't think he knows that he's going anywhere. And actually, what you would have to say is it's just people predicting he's going to leave, because there is absolutely no way he knows he's going, and there's absolutely no way we've done a deal and then played him for 90 minutes against Rangers. Nobody would do that. So I still think there's a chance he's going to go, but I don't think that decision has been made yet. This is what Amorim had to say. Amorim said on Garnacho's future, I don't know what will happen. Let's focus on the team and the players that we have here. We don't know what can happen until the window closes. Anything can happen. And I look, you can take it any way you want, but I think the message is clear. I mean, I've got a video going out with Robbie this morning on That's Football because we do our Premier League prediction show. He was like, I'd take him at Arsenal any day of the week. I can't believe Man United are doing this. It would be like us selling Martinelli at 20, and we wouldn't, you know, as much as Martinelli may not be totally rated, we would have gone mad if we'd sold him at 20. So yeah, he's absolutely spot on. There's so many people are shocked at what United are doing here. It's the attitude of an Everton, as I keep saying. You sell your good players to get money in to buy other players, and that's just not the attitude of a top six club. You don't do that. Disgraceful, and disgraceful how they're trying to sell it as well. But I think Amorim sent the message last night. He doesn't want to sell Garnacho. I mean, how many weeks have I been telling you that Garnacho doesn't want to go and Amorim doesn't want him to go? This is coming from the owners. And the letter yesterday that they put out proves it as well. They are making cuts. They are making difficult decisions to get money into the football club. And still, you've got morons out there trying to make a story that Garnacho wants to go or Amorim wants him to go. I mean, I think we saw last night, neither of those two want that to happen. This is coming from above. And what can we do about it? Sufyan said Amorim didn't say that, and yet he did. It's a direct quote from Laurie Whitwell. I don't know what will happen. Let's focus on the team and the players that we have here. We don't know what can happen until the window closes. Anything can happen. It's a direct quote, mate. Stop. You'll get blocked. It was simple as that. You'll get blocked. Stop trying to propaganda your way out of it. It's a direct quote from Amorim, and it's very, very clear that Amorim wants him as part of the team. Played him for 90 minutes last night. Didn't keep him on the bench, didn't leave him out like Rashford. Wants him in the team. Amorim wants to, Garnacho wants to stay as well. This is coming from INEOS. We'll have to just wait and see what happens next. But I don't trust these people. I think they're a bad thing for the football club. And this would be a very bad thing. I guess we've just got to see what happens next. Walnuts a blob. Welcome to the members club. Also welcome to the Gamer on Xbox. Just seen Manan's cat fly past my window. It is windy today, Magooch. And if we're so skint, why are we spending 30 million on Dorgu when we have a buyback on Alvaro? So Jim seems ridiculously reactionary. And Mikhail, that was from Sammy. And Mikhail says, do you think INEOS are scared to go against the Glazers' hand because of the 18-month clause in purchase contracts where the Glazers can remove INEOS? I don't. I think that's pure fantasy that people think that. Let's talk about this Dorgu bid because we've got so much to get into today. I'm more than happy to go back to topics we've spoken about, of course, but got to get a lot in this morning. So, right. I mean, I'd say sit down, but we're so used to this sort of bad news in a sense, really. Where are we at with Dorgu? So Fabrizio this morning has said, Man United's new bid for Dorgu is now imminent. It will be over 30 million euros after initial one was rejected. Lecce and Man United are negotiating as Dorgu remains the top target at left wing back. I'm very happy with this player, by the way. I mean, I'm not one of those people that don't like the signing. I like the signing. The price is laughable. We should be laughed out everywhere. Every other Premier League club, every team in Europe should be laughing at us. This is an absolute joke. And you know what? John Murta must be sat there laughing. Richard Arnold as well, because they're not even at the club anymore and we're still doing shit deals like this. Let me tell you why it's a shit deal. 30 million euros for a 20-year-old who hasn't actually, played that many games. 20 million euros, over 30 million euros, right? Let me read out Lecce's top 3 transfers in their footballing history. In at number 3, can't even pronounce his name, in the 24-25 season, to Fiorentina, they sold a centre-back, Pongracic, for 15 million euros. So they've just sold their centre-back for 15 million euros. Second, Vucinic, might remember him, 07-08 season, 15.7 million euros. And then their best ever sale in their history, Lecce's best ever sale in their entire history, 19.5 million euros for Homeland, who obviously went to Sporting. So Man United are going to go from their biggest transfer in their history, 19.5 million euros, to over 30. So we're literally going to go 50% over their biggest ever transfer. I mean, we really are the epitome of Prats. What the hell are we doing? Do we not do any research at all? Do we just turn up to the club and take the lube and say, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? We're used to it. I mean, it's incredible. I like the player. I want the player. I want him to come to Manchester United. But look, if I said to you, do you want Edison from Atalanta? Yes. It's 120 million. You'd say no. And I've had a couple of people say, oh, you're just hating on it. I'm not hating on Dorgu. I like the player. But there gets to a point. If you go down your local pub tonight and ask for a pint, and it was £3 last week, and it's 15 quid this week, are you going to pay it or are you going to go across the road? I'm going across the road on principle. I'm not being mugged off like that, despite how good your pint is. I'll put up with what's across the road, thank you, on pure principle. Their biggest ever transfer in their history is 19.5 million euro, and we're going to pay them over 30 million euros for a left back. Bloody hell. I mean, and people are actually telling us that this ownership model knows what they're doing. Fucking hell. And you know what annoys me as well is the fact that he's not worth any more than 20 million euros and we're going to pay over 30 million euros, but we haven't got any bloody money anyway. We're trying to sell Garnacho to get money in to then waste it. I mean, that is just like a double kick in the nuts. I don't want Garnacho to go. I don't want Menu to go. I want these talented players to be part of our future. But you're going to sell them to then overspend on players that might not even be good enough. It's apps. It needs calling out. It needs calling out. This is crap negotiation. This is absolute crap. Now, if he goes on to be, look, what's the best left back in the world even worth? Who's the most expensive left back in history? Even world class left backs don't go for 70 million. And we're already going to pay 30 million euros for a potential one. It's madness. It's absolute madness. And I despair of it. I despair of it. Patrick Lynch says, we had it officially from the owners that we are financially broke and fans must bear the brunt of it. Then we go straight away and overbid on an unproven player. What kind of business people are these guys? It's terrifying. It's so terrifying because I'd run the club better, you'd run the club better, and that's just based on football knowledge. But we brought Barada in. We've got Jason Wilcox. We had Ashworth. You've got Blanc, who was at PSG. You've got Fivel. These people aren't stupid. They're not stupid. This shouldn't be happening. Barada has done interviews talking about not overpaying, not getting mugged off. So why is it we cannot change that record? I've got total faith in people like Barada. Their track record is really good. Man City never overpaid. And yet he comes in and we're still going to do it. And you wonder if Barada is going, we can't pay this. And then someone at the top's going, no, we need it. We need the PR. Who's our negotiator exactly? It's terrible. It really is absolutely terrible. Smoggy says, the only out this January will be Anthony. We'll sneak in a left back. Then in the summer, we'll see an attempted fire sale and incomings will be slow. We'll likely miss pre-season and the cycle continues. Thank you, Smoggy. It could be worse, Mark. My club Fulham are interested in signing Emerson Royale, says Callum Owen. And poor lad is destined to fail because we overpay, says Cruel. Well, it is cruel as well. I know your name's Cruel, but it is cruel as well. He comes in with huge expectation. But I mean, look, sometimes I put my hands up. Especially in a match reaction, you can overreact based on, emotion and passion. But I'm not overreacting here. Lecce's biggest ever sale in their history is 19.5 million euros for a midfielder, and we're going to give them over 30 for a left back. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And I mean, how many more embarrassing transfers do we want to do? It's incredible. And also the fact that we're going to fund it by selling a player we shouldn't be selling is even more embarrassing. It really is. What if they plan to pay it in installments, says Abdi? Mate, I don't care if we're paying it in installments or not. What? I mean, are you Sir Jim's burner? What does that mean? We're paying it. You're still paying it? What? I don't even get, what's that about? What are you doing to me, bruv? Like, what are you talking about installments? You're still paying 30 million euros. You're still breaking Lecce's bloody transfer record by 50%. Installment, you're falling into the trap. You're falling into this nonsense trap. I mean, it's like the idiots who think if you sell Garnacho, you get triple the money. You don't. You sell any player, you could have triple the money. But we won't do that because we are not in the situation to do it because we're already doing loads of installments. It's a... Go and chew on a sofa. It's absolute stupidity to think that installments bring the price down. Anyway, look, let's move. Gifted a membership from Bram. Is Garnacho gone guaranteed, says United Edits? We don't know. As I said, Amram doesn't know. Nobody knows at the moment. Yeah, but it looks like... Look, I've got to say, I like Dorgu, but well done, Man United. You're bringing in a player that I actually quite like, that you've completely ruined by overpaying and putting huge pressure on him and pissing off the fan base again. So well done. Something that could have been a real positive and a really good signing is now going to be something that people are looking at going, what the fuck are we doing? So yeah, incredible. Sorry, I've just been sent something there that I'm going to bring into the show in a minute. Yeah, okay. Right, let me just talk to you very, very quickly. I'm sure we're going to be going back and forth here. A lot of people asking about other transfers. Obviously, Marcus Rashford was not in the squad last night. We still don't hear anything about what's happening with him. Anthony is still expected to go on loan. And on in assessment to that, the Garnacho story still continues. With regards to incomings, I mean, there isn't that long left in this window. It's a week on Monday. It closes. Dorgu seems to be the only deal at the moment. With regards to injuries, UTD Menace, very good on injury, has said that the first post-match assessment of the players shows no serious issues. A couple felt slight discomfort. Further assessment and investigation due today. Hopefully nothing more serious discovered. Obviously that was a lot to do with the stories at the end of the game yesterday that De Ligt and Yoro went off feeling something. So hopefully that that will be dealt with and not be too bad, because I certainly don't want to be picking up any further injuries. Obviously, we're playing Fulham on Sunday night away at 7 o'clock. I have to say, I wasn't that impressed with Alvaro watching him against Barcelona. What does everyone else think? Says Aaron. I mean, he's better than what we have at the moment. And what we have at the moment is basically nothing. What about this lad we're bringing in from Arsenal, says Ahmed. He's a centre-back. He's 18. Heaven's the name. And I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with bringing in talented young players, but I'd rather be Arsenal. You know, if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be getting pissed off about United taking a young centre-back from them. They're a well-run club, and they're up there competing for titles, and they're in the Champions League. It's all well and good bringing loads of young players in, but we have actually been doing this for about 10 years, and look at where we are. Young players aren't going to put us back on the map. If that's part of the strategy, it's a stupid strategy. You do need to have a flow of young players coming through, but they can't rebuild the club. You have to have experience. Look at the class of 92. 6 players that became, you know, absolute legends of the club, would never have happened if they didn't have the Cantonazes and the Steve Bruce and the Keanes and the Inces and the Schmeichels and the Irwins and the Pallisters. You've got to have the experienced players as well, which we lack. So how are we going to nurture these young players? We need experience as well, and we don't have it. What do you think of Garnacho's last Instagram post, says Arslan? Lots to get into today, but I don't mind riffing. Let's have a look. Oh, it's just a picture of him saying strong team performance. Thank you, Old Trafford. I think it was just pure appreciation for the fact that he got a lot of love and a lot of support during the game. Good negotiator, and Macran says Ashworth was a good negotiator and INEOS don't like it. Okay. Thank you very much to that as well. Okay, we've spoken about that as well. I don't know what's going to happen with Garnacho. I think they're trying to sell him. You know what? I know it's really sadistic in a way, but if we do sell him, I hope he goes to Chelsea. I'll bloody love it if he goes to Chelsea in the Premier League and tears it up. And I know that is sadistic, but it's only what we deserve. It is. He doesn't want to leave. Amrim doesn't want him to go. If he goes to Chelsea and tears it up, who's to blame? It's not me and it's not you, but it is Man United. So, and why should he leave the Premier League? If I was him, I wouldn't want to leave the Premier League. I'd be like, I don't want to go to Napoli. I'm 20, I'm developing, I want to become the best player I can. I don't think the Italian league is the best place for me to be. I want to be in the Premier League. It's quicker, it's faster, it's more intense. I'm an attacking player. It's the most watched league in the world. I want to be in the Premier League. So if you want to sell me, fine. There's nothing I can do about that. But I want to be in the Premier League, so you better sell me to a Premier League club. I found a club. It's Chelsea. They're offering more than Napoli. Do the deal, or I stay here. And that's what I would do. Is well, I pretty much know it's what happening anyway. But that's what I would do. I would say I want to stay. The manager wants me to stay. You want to sell me so you can overspend on Dorgu. But I want to stay in the Premier League, so I'm either staying here or I'm going to Chelsea. And that deal's there. What do you want to do? It would be horrible for us as fans, but it's only what United deserve. You can't say I'm selling a player and then decide where they're going to go. Have you seen Enzo Fernandez's tweet about Garnacho? I have, Z. I have. And the funny thing is, I got this message last night as well. I want to talk about this letter from INEOS because I think it's going to blow the doors off and educate quite a lot of people. And I've had a few contributions from a few people as well, which I want to shout out. But effectively, what I want to say before I do that is that, you know what? We do suffer in this fan base and in the world of football with flip-flops. This week, a lot of Chelsea fans have been saying they don't want Garnacho. After last night, they're like, yeah, we do. Because people constantly do that all the time. And the volume is very low this morning. Sorry, I've just knocked it up. Why don't... D1, thank you very much. I'm amazed. That was so low, and we've been streaming for 20 minutes. Why don't people in the chat tell me? Enzo's tweet was a fake, actually, says Ashton. Yeah, but look, bottom line is, forget the Enzo tweet. What I'm actually talking about is the flip-flop nature of the way people support their team. I mean, you know, you've got people this week talking about Martinez ain't that good, and then he has a good game last night and the butcher's back. You've got people this week saying sell Garnacho and he plays well last night, and people are like, oh yeah, he's brilliant. You got people a few weeks ago saying Collier's not that, and then he plays well last night. Oh, he is. And we need to just calm ourselves a little bit. Like, Yoro will have bad games, he'll have good games. Same with Xerxes, same with Agate, same with Mazraoui, same with Garnacho, same with Martinez. We're just too reactionary with our players. Maguire had a bad game last night, missed an absolute sitter with the header, and cost us a goal that we could have equalised. But thankfully, most people were quite calm about it and said, you know, he's been good in recent weeks and he just had one of them games. Why can't we just do that with everybody on the regular? Because we're so up and down. We overrate good performances and we overrate bad performances as well. And we have got a part to play in this, and I do notice it more and more. And I don't know why it is. I don't know what it is that does it, because for me, I've been very consistent that young players and new players, we have to be patient with. It becomes a point where you make your mind up, but you need the evidence pool for that. And you're never going to get the evidence pool on a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old because they're not going to be the complete player till they're 23. And with a new signing, you're never going to get the evidence after 6 months. You need a full season and a half, I think, adjustment. So it is crazy how we are up and down on players, and I think we just, you know, it will help us to be a little bit more patient, which is why the result last night, I was saying, there's a lot of people moaning, and I'm like, we were so bad against Brighton, that's definitely a step forward. It's still not great, but it is a step forward, and we just got to go with it, in my opinion. Joseph says, you're live every day. Yeah, I know. Thank you very much. Take a look at yourself. Well, I do. I have my OBS system there. I can see myself as well. Don't know what your comment's all about, Joseph. If you're trying to say I flip-flop, I definitely don't. Haters going to hate. I know there's a lot of people in here, but I don't. I'm quite consistent about what I think about players, and I don't tend to overrate them, and I don't tend to overhate them either. I'll tell you Casemiro needs to go. I've got the evidence. I'll tell you Rashford needs to go. I've got the evidence. I'll tell you that Anthony needs to go. I've got the evidence. But that's based on a long pool of evidence, and it doesn't mean that none of those players could turn it around. You know, Rashford could come back, score 4 hat-tricks in a row. I wouldn't sell him. So there's always a way back as well. We forget last season's injury crisis for Ten Hag, says Westrum. Now we don't have that to blame anymore. Scary to think about what happens if the injuries occur now. Thank you very much. Thought Beth asked Collier some great questions in the interview. Garnacho played for the shirt last night. He wants to clearly stay. Would be a shame, says Kieran. 30 million plus João Felix, sign me up. Terrible deal, Harvey. Have you seen... yeah, we've done that one from Z as well. K-Stone says, Garnacho played his heart out yesterday, showed positive attitude despite the rumours, showing maturity and decision-making. He is a keep for now. And thank Thank you very much for that. Right, this is what I want to get into. Phil Lomas says, I trust INEOS. He's a member of the channel. Was it a gifted membership? I don't know. It's hard to say because that to me is ridiculously naive and we're about to shut you down, Phil. So yesterday, INEOS, this feeds into everything. This feeds into our future. This feeds into the transfer window. This feeds into ticket price hikes. This feeds into selling players like Garnacho. INEOS yesterday basically put out a sympathy letter. And in that sympathy letter, they spoke about hard times and difficult decisions. We have to become more sustainable. And to do that, we've got to make tough choices. We need to sack people. We might need to raise ticket prices again. This is basically what INEOS's strategy is. And I would say, if you're falling for this, please, 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 open your ears and eyes and do some work because it's out there. The information is out there and it doesn't need to be like this. The reason that INEOS are pleading sympathy and playing on your conscience is because they're doing a deal with the Glazers. They've done a deal with the Glazers, and the Glazer-nomic approach to Manchester United is you never put anything in, you only take things out, and you try and make the club run off itself, but you're always taking out. And that's been going on for 20 years, and that's why the debt's there. INEOS have come in, they've given their money to the Glazers, who've taken it out. They've put a little bit in, a couple of 100 million, but that's never going to touch the sides. And now INEOS are saying, we're not putting any more money of our money in, we're going to try and make this work off what the club generates. And that's never going to work. You cannot make Manchester United work based on what it generates itself. Look at what Todd Bowley's done at Chelsea. Look at what Man City have done with Sheikh Mansour. Look at what... I read something today. I think even Stoke have put more money into their club over the last 3 years than Man United. So owners need to put their hand in the pocket and put money into the club for it to be successful. And United really don't want to do that. And INEOS won't want to do it anymore because they only own 28%. So we get this ridiculous situation where they try and play on, it's really difficult to survive because we haven't got any money, but they're not being creative in getting money into the football club themselves. So you look at Chelsea and you look at Todd Bowley and you look at how much money they've spent in the last few years. They had a transfer ban before Todd Bowley came in. How are they PSR compliant? How are they FFP compliant? And how are they bidding for Garnacho when we're not? Well, there's a few reasons for that. One, obviously, they're going to be in the Club World Cup. But they're not in the Champions League. They're in the Conference League. I don't know what were they in last year. They weren't in the Champions League last year either, were they? How are Chelsea doing it and Man United can't? We've got a bigger stadium. We've got a bigger fan base. And yet Chelsea can spend a load of money. And the reason Chelsea can spend a load of money is because they've got owners that want to get their money into the club so that the club can do things. And that simply, my friends, is the difference here. If you've got an owner that wants to get their money into the club, you will be successful in the long run. We don't have that. We've got the Glazers, who've never wanted to do it, and we've got INEOS, who only own 28%, so why would you do it? And do you want to do it anyway? I don't know, but they're not doing it. Todd Bowley, if we focus on Chelsea, has found ways to get money into that football club through the back door legitimately. They've sold hotels that Chelsea own to themselves, basically, and pumped, I think it was about 80 million in. Well, that's another 3 or 4 signings on an 8-year contract. So there are ways that you can do this, and Chelsea will and have done it and will continue to do it. Where you're being mugged off as United fans when you read the INEOS letter is that they're not lying to you. The club is in a bad situation, and it is difficult to be sustainable when you're just living off the current situation. The key to Man United being successful, again, is having owners who want to get their money into the club and finding ways to do it. We don't have that. That is the issue. People are looking at PSR and FFP and looking at United's revenue and going, it's difficult, but that's not what Chelsea did. Chelsea, if they'd looked at their revenue and everything, they'd have gone, we're fucked. But they didn't do that. They found ways to funnel money in to help that club be better. And people keep missing this. And it's the glaring issue that, you know, Sky don't want to report it. The Man United bloody client journalism doesn't want to report it because it's too difficult. But it's really, really simple. This is why people wanted a full sale and the Glazers out. Forget the debt. The debt needed to go, but the debt doesn't massively. Well, look, Kieran Maguire is a financial expert. Apparently, he said that debt repayment interest is part of PSR. I don't know whether that's true. He tweeted it this morning that apparently interest payments are on PSR. Well, interest payments on the debt, we've got a lot of debt. So I don't know whether that's true, but I don't know why he would tweet it. And that's for better minds than me and maybe you. I don't know. Apparently, interest payments are PSR applicable. So when we're paying interest on our debt, that does go towards PSR. So it does damages. That's by the by. If that's true, that's really, really concerning, of course. But what cannot be denied is, for all the maneuverability that people want to talk about, just keep it focused on this. The reason they're thinking about selling Garnacho and Mainu is because they're trying to generate money that they don't want to put in. The reason Chelsea cannot be in the Champions League, have a smaller crowd than us, a smaller ground than us, have transfer bans and still be spending more money than us is because they've got an owner that wants to win and wants to get money in and has realised through the history of the Premier League that the only way to win it is to spend. And they want to put money in and they've got the money to do it. And that's the difference. And that's why when people talk about Qatar or whatever, that would have happened to us. But it's not happening to us because we've got owners that don't want to do that. INEOS are billionaires. They could find a way to get £100 million into that club tomorrow. There are ways to do it. I mean, I don't know whether we've got land we could sell to ourselves. Maybe you could do Old Trafford supported by INEOS as a stadium thing. There are ways to get money into that club if INEOS wanted to do it. And 100 million would be a very, 100 million, if you want to spread it out, could buy you 50 million pound players. But there are ways for us to get money into that football club and we are not doing it. And all the bravado, all the letters, I just hope that that letter that INEOS wrote, people really scrutinise it properly. Because if you take it on face value and you go, they're doing their best, we need to sell to buy, this is why some of us get really irritated by it. Because the only reason we need to sell to buy is because INEOS did a deal with the Glazers and we're stuck with owners that won't put money in to the extent that Chelsea will or Man City will. A good question is why Newcastle can't do that. Newcastle have the richest owners in the world, but they can't do it because they don't have the revenue power that we have. Our revenue is very high. Chelsea's revenue is very high. Newcastle's is very low. So even if they start doing stuff, it looks really false. FFP kills Newcastle because they don't have the list of European qualifications and revenue that we, us and Chelsea have. So they find it hard to get the money into the club. For us, getting money into the club is a lot easier. I don't understand why we don't just do a Barca and pull every... Well, this is it, Trey. There are numerous levers Man United could pull to get money into the club, but we don't want to do it because they're obsessed with this sustainability. They're trying to make Man United this self-sufficient business. Basically, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Man United self-sufficient. And that will never work. It will never work because that's not what other clubs do. Other clubs don't do that. And also, how can a club be self-sufficient when it was self-sufficient and then got thrown into debt for 20 years? So it won't work. INEOS are richer than Etihad, just very tight, says Rob. Youth, courage, success. I can't imagine losing Garnacho, says Iron. I'd reluctantly accept Glazers taking 10 million per year if they just clear the debt. They shouldn't be. We are so powerless, says Kiel. We will need to get relegated before things get better, says Tom. We need a new owner strategy. Rasmus and Co. need an experienced striker, says PJ. Lecce said no to 35 million bids for Dorgu in the summer, says Alexander. Well, we never should have gone in there then. Reese, thank you very much for your super chat. We've done that one as well. I just wanted to add in as well. I mean, I don't want to scare people, but I'm a big fan of some of the financial accounts. Magic Hat's quite good. In relation to general football, Swedish Rumble's very good about Manchester United. But there was some things that he said yesterday around that Sir Jim Ratcliffe letter and INEOS that really, really should open people's eyes. So listen to this. This is Swedish Rumble on Twitter, who's very, very good around the financial side. Basically said that anybody who thinks that Man United getting a new stadium can replicate what Arsenal did, where they kept getting in the top four and cut costs from 2006, this would be more, if Man United do it, it'll be more like West Ham or Blackburn cutting costs in 2006, because the Premier League's completely different now. Top Premier League rivals are stronger than ever. City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Villa, Newcastle have spending power and a better run. It also goes on to say that United's player wage bill is currently 5th in the Premier League. It has been reduced. And if Rashford and Casemiro go, then it will drop to about 6th. From this position, United still want to cut costs. So we've already got the 5th cheapest wage bill, the 5th most expensive wage bill anyway, and we're going to cut that even more. It doesn't go hand in hand to keep reducing your wage bill down that much and be successful. You know, there gets to a point where we were overpaying, but then you're going to underpay and you're not going to have quality. Said that Manchester United Man United is the Premier League club that has received by far the least amount of support from its owners by a mile, while other clubs are constantly supported by their owners. The 240 million that INEOS contributed is all the club is getting, besides something in relation to the stadium. In comparison, a club like Stoke got 160 million from its owners in 2022, and in 2024 it got 133 million. So basically, Stoke have given more money from their owners than Sir Jim has given with that 240. So we're not pumping money into the football club from the owners. The owners of clubs like Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham and Aston Villa clearly are seeing the development in the football world where the financial gap is growing extremely fast between better Champions League clubs and the rest. If you're in the Champions League, it's not that hard to make finances add up. If you're out of it, it's close to impossible. Hence, they are sanctioning higher spends than ever to retain their Champions League position, whilst Man United are cutting costs. Newcastle is the richest club in football, and Bowley's Chelsea is determined to spend whatever it takes to get to the top. This means that spending needs to increase. So when United sets out a plan to cut costs to balance the books, when everyone else is going to spend more, rivals are going to move faster and faster ahead of us in the opposite direction. Also, I'll just come in a couple other bits I want to bit in here. The plan described in the letter from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it's absurd to place the... Based on the plan described by Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the letter yesterday, it's absurd to place the expectations on the club above the 6th to 10th range for many years to come. There may be a couple of years where United overachieve and qualify for the Champions League, but ultimately the plan set out by INEOS really does look like further turmoil and decay for Manchester United. And it goes back to what I said at the start. I mean, this is all open for discussion, but so many people in the mainstream are either ignorant or being told not to report it. Every press conference, there's 10 journalists there, and not one of them has put an article out saying that if the Glazers had sold the club to Qatar, Man United would be doing a Chelsea and buying loads of players. Because it doesn't suit their agenda. They're client journalists. They didn't want Qatar. They didn't want the Glazers to go. So they have to try and make out that the INEOS deal's a good deal. And it's not a good deal. There is no club in the history of football that has cut costs and gone on to be successful. You have to spend. Even the clubs that have cut costs have, Arsenal didn't spend a lot for 10 years after building their stadium. Now they do. And they're successful. And that 10 years where they were cutting costs, they weren't successful. They never won the league. They qualified the Champions League a bit, but the Premier League was a lot less competitive then. The cuts won't work. And INEOS have zero footprint in football. So we're trusting people who've got no football acumen to do something that we all know won't work. It's not a good mix. And they're putting letters out to fans telling us they're going to do it because they back themselves. The cuts don't work. You've got Man United cutting costs and we're dropping down the Premier League. You've got Chelsea spending money and they're climbing the Premier League. It's very, very simple to see what's going on. And on top of that, the one player that we are trying to buy, we're smashing Lecce's bloody transfer record and overpaying. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. When we do spend, we spend too much. And then we're cutting costs as well. But you know what? It's about time people started seeing through what is happening at Manchester United. I don't dispute INEOS's plan, but it's based on the fact that they don't want to put their own money into the club. And that's something the Glazers have never done as well. And we have suffered as a football club because of it. So many football clubs have owners who put money in. We don't have that. We've never had that. I don't think the Glazers have ever put any money in. The club is dying. And people are willing to take a letter and take it on face value. The club is dying. And every journalist and pundit and ex-player that comes out and says they're in a difficult position because of PSR and FFP, they need to shut up and educate themselves, because we're not in a difficult position because of PSR and FFP. We're in a difficult position because of PSR and FFP because our owners don't want to put money into the club and want to make the club sufficient itself. And that won't work. That won't work. It hasn't worked. And that is why teams like Chelsea and Man City and other clubs are successful, is because they put money in and find ways to put money in. But if you've got owners that don't want to put money in, you're gonna get screwed. Garnacho could refuse contracts from other clubs, says Peter. Where can I send you some interesting facts around the Glazers and the INEOS investments, says Cruel. That's football@gmail.com. Hi Mark, I'm a little bit behind, but our 22-23 interest payable was 61 million from Swedish Rumble. Well, apparently interest payments go down on PSR. So basically, if that's true, if we paid 61 million in 1 year on interest payments, and that goes down against us for PSR, if we weren't in debt, we wouldn't pay 61 million pounds, and therefore that 61 million pounds would mean we wouldn't need to sell Garnacho. So if that is true, then thank you. Thank you, the Glazers. Thank you so much. I love the way you fuck this football club. I mean, if that's 60 million pounds in 1 year, and that counts against us for FFP and PSR, if we weren't in debt, we wouldn't need to sell Garnacho. We'd be able to do what everybody wants to do. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But people don't talk about this. The press don't talk about this. They just go, it's difficult. What happened before the summer transfer window last year? The Athletic, the Independent, they're all going on about it's tough for United to do business because of PSR and FFP, but they never tell us why it's tough. They never tell us how we could change that. Some of them have even written that it would still be tough under PSR and FFP if Qatar had bought the club. How? We wouldn't have the debt repayments, and they'd be putting money into the club like Bowley did. So how would it be different? We'd probably have another $500 million to spend if we'd gone to Qatar or somebody had bought us. But they won't write that because it's not the agenda they want to put out there, is it? But as fans, we need the truth, even if the truth is uncomfortable. If I found out today that Garnacho had whacked a transfer request in 4 weeks ago, I wouldn't hide it. I'd say I'm really disappointed because it's the truth, and we should have the truth, and we shouldn't have the truth hidden. And the truth is, it's not actually that difficult to look at. If the Glazers had sold the club and a billionaire had bought us and cleared the debt, you can figure out where we would be today. You can figure out what we would be doing today. Because you can look at what Chelsea did and go, well, how did Todd Boehly get all that money into the club when Chelsea weren't qualifying for the Champions League and they were in a financial mess? Oh, he did this. Oh, he got money in that way. He sold that. He did that. Oh, okay. So, but that was his money. You got to have someone with the money to want to put it in, but he did, and he did this, and he did this, and that's why they bought Fernandes and Caicedo. Okay, so if we'd sold to the Glazers, if we'd sold the Glazers had gone a year ago, and this billionaire had come in like Boehly, and he'd cleared the debt, stopped the interest payments, and put this money in here, then we'd be buying Harry Kane and stuff like that. And that's the simple equation that people don't want to discuss, but it's true. If the Glazers had gone and we'd got an owner who was rich, who'd cleared the debt, then we would be able to spend another $500 million from where we are today. But we won't do that because the Glazers are still here and INEOS don't want to put the money in for whatever reason or can't put the money in. And I sort of understand it as well. If I own 28% of something and I'm looking at it going, we need to get money in, but then the guy who owns 50% is saying, we've never done that and we're not going to do that. If I put money in, I'm benefiting them and they're not putting anything in. So this is what I mean. I wish INEOS owned the whole football club because then when they weren't putting money in, you could say you're as bad as the Glazers, but they only own 28%. And people are saying they should chuck money in. But if I own 28% of a house and I chuck a load of money in to renovate it, the value of that house goes up, but only 28% of it comes to me. So it's a crap deal, and I can see it getting worse. I really can. I think it's unsustainable to be successful. Look at it like this, right? I've just gone through all the financial problems and we're in a mess, and the owners are even saying we'll make more cuts. So that's going to get worse, guaranteed. Financially, it's going to get worse. On the pitch, our squad's no better than Fulham. So financially, we're fucked. And on the pitch, our squad's fucked. This is not a good marriage. How do we get better then? If we were broke and we had a great squad, you could live off the squad. If we had a crap squad and we had loads of money, you could buy a new squad. But financially in trouble and not a good squad, that is not good, is it? That is not good. It is a concern. What can we expect next? Well, what we can expect next is that Lecce's transfer record of 19.5 million euros is about to get smashed by Man United buying a left-back for over 30. What we can expect is that a decision will be made on Garnacho, and for the last few days they've been trying to sell him, so I can't see that's going to change. And for the last few days, absolutely nothing is happening with Rashford and Casemiro, so they'll just be tweeting on Sunday, come on Man United. So that's where we are at the moment. An absolute mess, and all our owners can do is write letters about how we're going to make more cuts. So, you know, we're breathing, we're alive, and while we're alive, we should celebrate. But I don't know what the future is, and I don't see it. But there is many of us who said, and sometimes you've got to have the courage of your convictions to stand by what you said. I remember many of you saying when we were going through the sale process, our only chance to survive and get better is for the Glazers to go, a new owner to come in, hit the reset, clear the debt and rebuild. And I think they were right. And we didn't do it. So we are where we are. And I think to all those people that said, we'll be fine under INEOS, I think they have to start admitting they got it wrong. You know, I don't blame them for getting it wrong. There was a lot of things that were said that haven't happened. Could still happen, but I don't know. But I think we're in big trouble, and it's hard to see it getting any better because they're talking about years and years of cuts, and I think Barada needs to change his plan about winning the title in 2028. I think 2030 at least. I can just see this getting worse and worse for a time, really. And when we build the new stadium, we're going to be paying for that as well. So that's going to be more repayments. That's going to be more debt. The cuts don't work. They just make it worse, and we will never win the league again, says Victoria Bishop. FFP and PSR is being used as a smokescreen. 100%, Patrick. In my opinion, 100%. And as I said, look, there might be people at Man United who aren't very happy about this and are screaming and shouting, that's not right, that's not right. Biggest Manchester United community in the world. What's stopping you coming on and explaining your situation if you're so confident? They won't do it because I or Beth or somebody else would sit there and say, but you could do what Todd Bowley's done. You could put your hand in your pocket and you could find a way to get money legitimately into this club that would prevent us having to sell Garnacho. You could easily get 60 million into that club tomorrow through your own pocket. Could you? Could you? Answer the question. Could you do it? Yes. But they won't. I've sent a piece I did for uni, says Cruel. Thank you very much. Ryan wants a financial expert. The cuts don't work. I've done that one. Patrick Lynch as well. Thank you very much. Okay. We are back today at 1:30. We've got the Amrin press conference reaction for Fulham. We'll be talking about that. Tonight at 8 o'clock, it's the Friday night show, and God, do I need a glass of red. Looking forward to that. And big announcement tonight at 8 o'clock, the 10-year United Stand show. We're back on tour for one night only. We'll give you the date and the details tonight. If you're a member, you get first pop at getting your tickets. General sale on Monday. So 8 o'clock tonight, that will be going as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Legends this morning. All I would say is beware what you read. And beware what INEOS sent out yesterday, because there is a completely different letter there. I mean, in fact, somebody should do it. Somebody should write a different letter of what the actual thing is. Because, as I said, they could comfortably get money into this football club tomorrow, but they don't want to do it for some reason. Look, at the end of the day, if somebody said, right, we're going to get INEOS to sponsor the stadium, naming rights, it's going to be Old Trafford supported by INEOS, who would give a shit if it gave us 50 million a year for the next 5 years? It's 250 million into the club. I don't want naming rights on the stadium, but Old Trafford supported by INEOS is still Old Trafford, and you get 50 million into the club each year. And I think that's about the going rate for a stadium, I think. And it's money into the club tomorrow. So there's ways that you can do stuff. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit.